Okay, who do we have here? Hey, Antonio. Hi, everybody.
What's going on?
Okay. Glad to see you guys all made it. How is school over there?
Uncle Danny, your camera isn't on.
My camera's on, not on?
Not on yet.
How about that?
Yep, there you go. Looks
Okay,
good.
hold on a second. Oh, let me, Okay, let's make sure we got everybody in here. So we have Antonio, Chris, Noah, Jacob, and Caleb. Right? Okay, thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming in. Today, we're going to be covering a presentation for BCom 250 for Dean Evans Mock over at Macomb Community College. And my presentation is going to be, is it time to expand to China? So we have a fictitious company and we're considering expansion into the China market. Okay. All right. So if you guys have any questions or anything or want to learn any more, please do so at the end of the presentation. Okay. So now I need to share the screen and okay, hold on. Share screen. Okay, let's go. Okay, can you all see that?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, excellent. So is it time to expand to China? Prepared for Dean Evans Mock. Prepared by Daniel David Ellis. And today's date is April 26, 2022. And I'm going to go to the next slide. So China is projected to be the world's largest economy by 2030. Do we want in? Let's determine that today. So the purpose of this presentation is to evaluate our current situation in China. We're a fictitious company. We'll go over some of the primary and secondary research that were included in this study and this presentation. Then there's three basic scopes. The first overall scope is to discuss the overall Chinese market. The second scope will be related to the Chinese special economic zones. The third scope will be the cost of expansion. If it's cost prohibitive, obviously we don't want to attend. And then we'll conclude with, are we going into the market? How does that sound?
Sounds
All right.
good.
All right, thank you. Okay, so our present situation in China, as you know, from our past experience, we got out of the market in 2013. And as you can see from the American Chamber of Commerce research, that the PRC, which is People's Republic of China, the smartphone market wasn't really that dominated by anybody in particular. In fact, 40% was others. So what our current sale, and then we pulled out of the market due to cost circumstances. Now our current sales strategy in China is through the distribution channels of partners we have here, which doesn't give us really a foot into the market. So the other thing is our competition. Our competition is hitting that Chinese market for the past 2 years. So now we're going to cover today what our opportunities could be in that market. All right. Any questions there? No? Okay, thank you. All right, so the research we conducted here is primary and secondary research. For the primary research, I interviewed my brother-in-law, Mario Fiordolino, and we're happy to have his son, Antonio, here today. Mario is an executive with Monster Inc. And I first was turned on to the problems we were experiencing with COVID during a conversation I had with Mario this past Christmas, when we realized that the supply chain was being effective. So I put together a list of questions that Mario answered, and I used that primary research to delve into the secondary research. Now that primary research is covered in the PDF file of the business report that I emailed to all of you, and you can ask me other questions after you get that. So as you can see here, 30% said they had serious problems. 57% only minor problems, and only 6% had no problems. So we see that 87% either had minor or serious problems because of COVID-19. In fact, many of us wouldn't be doing a presentation like this over the internet if it wasn't for COVID-19. All right, now we know what primary research is there, where I conducted an interview. So the secondary research came from the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA market analysis, the American Chamber of Commerce, business leaders, such as an interview recently conducted regarding China and the supply chain with the FedEx chairman. Now, the reason I chose that, as you see in the report, is because Federal Express is the supply chain company for the world, right? I mean, they ship product all over the world, and they often tell when a recession, depression, or an economic boom is at hand. And as mentioned, the other research that we put together here for secondary research will come from the US government. Any questions there? No? All right. So let's go into the scope of the presentation. The first scope is the overall market. You know, before we reach a conclusion, if we're going to enter that market, we need to look at the three scopes that I mentioned in the introduction. So according to the World Bank, 2013 GDP of China, the gross domestic product, was 9.57 trillion. At that time, the US was about 20. All right, so only about half our size. Well, by 2020, their GDP grew to 14.57 trillion. So you can see that's 5 trillion, or almost a 50% growth in just 7 years. Now, because of the growth is projected to grow at 7.5% per annum. And as you can see from this chart here, from the US government and the CIA market analysis, China is actually projected to take over the US to be the world's largest economy in 2030. Anybody have any questions about that? I'd like to answer. Pretty amazing though, isn't it? Okay. Now the second scope we need to determine if we're going to expand into the Asian market and the China market. We're going to look at my direct experiences in China. As my nephew there, Antonio, knows, I spent most of my adult life overseas, and I actually lived in Hong Kong and China for a dozen years. So I'm going to go over the situation in China, past and the present, and will then lead into the whether we're going to go into that market. So a special economic zone, as I mentioned in the introduction, was started because China was a really nothing there for a very long time. So in the 1980s, Deng Xiaoping, which is the premier of China, started a special economic zone right outside of Hong Kong. Now, when I moved there in 1990, Shenzhen, which was the first special economic zone, had about, I want to say 300, 400,000 people. Well, today, Shenzhen is over 10 million people, and it's bigger than Hong Kong now. And it counts for a vast majority of the China market, and even where the Chinese stock exchange is headquartered in Shenzhen. So what we want to look at there is Shanghai, the second economic zone that was started in China in the 1980s. Now, Hong Kong market, as you guys may know, was previously a colony of England. And then in 1997, that got turned over to China. And I was even living there at the time and attended the ceremony with the governors and the executives and several diplomats from the US and China. So what we're going to think here and what we're going to evaluate over the next couple of slides is, do we go into Shanghai? Do we go into one of these other special economic zones that you can see here? Xiamen, Shantao, Zhuhai? Or do we use Hong Kong as a stepping stone? Okay, any questions? No? All right. So before we look to expand into China, there's several challenges and opportunities that we're going to need to address. For example, setting up our own operation. Setting up our own operation will give us greater control, right? We'll be able to have our own operation, report directly to the states, have our own staff management operation. But that's also more expensive. To give you an idea, Hong Kong, Shanghai, etc., a home of just say 900 square feet will run over $1 million. It's very, very expensive. They're probably the most expensive cities in the world. And I have that data in your report that I sent over to you in the email of the World Bank and how they recognize the most expensive cities. So setting up will give us more control, but it's more expensive. Now we could use direct channels. Now the direct channels will give us footprint into the various cities. Like I mentioned, the economic zones in China will have a little less control and it will have a margin impact because our profitability won't be as high as if we had our own operation. But again, the positive note is it'll be less expensive. Now, the other alternative, the third alternative would be to maintain our current distribution, which is selling through people that are already here in the States, where we have very limited control and we're losing a lot on the margins. So anybody have any questions on the cost factors? No? So do we enter the China market? I think what we covered today, we got out in 2013, there were a lot of opportunities and it was getting very expensive. But today, as you saw, the market is ready. COVID caused a disruption that's affecting the supply chains and everything around the world. So it's an opportune time when chaos exists to go in and penetrate that market. And our cost will be minimal if we start with a direct channel instead of a direct presence, and then we build that operation from there. So does that sound good? Do we want to go to China? Yeah, there we go. We're shaking our heads. Good opportunity, good profit margins, and we'll all make a lot of money. So let's close that up. Anybody have any questions? No? All right, well, you all get A's. All right, take care and good luck with your soccer and your studies, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Uncle Danny.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for attending. Bye.
Thank you.
All right.